My goodness.
Wow.
My goodness.
What a weekend in Martin Tyler's Barclays Premiership Limited, which I believe is the full name, Jim, isn't it?
It certainly used to be.
Yeah.
I don't know if it still is, but that doesn't matter. I'll tell you something. In the words of your friend of mine, Richard Keys, not bad this league, is it?
By the way, in the intro, I thought the lyric was glad tidings, not good tidings.
No, but we bring good ones.
I'm glad as well, though.
Yeah.
I'm glad all over about this
well, there you
weekend's
are.
football.
You say, well,
Can I start this off by saying, and you guys can push back on me all you like, but I think this was the best weekend of the Premier League so far. I think it was the best.
Whatever.
No, this season.
Oh, okay. Well, that's less of a shout.
Look at the inputs, though.
Less of a shout. Though.
Look at the inputs.
Is there a heavy Southampton bias in this? Perhaps?
Possibly. Yeah, absolutely. Come on to that, Jim. Don't worry about that. Plenty of time for that.
There is plenty of time for that. One of two managers that have gone. No news on Pep Guardiola at the moment.
That'll happen while we're doing the show, though, won't it? We know that.
No
We've
news is
accepted
bad
that.
news.
Oh, dear me. Where to begin? I suppose, this is how it goes. Two managerial sackings. We will get to them, of course. But we are going to start, of course, with the Manchester derby. 2-1 Manchester United were the victors. I mean, we all saw this coming, of course. A late comeback from those Red Devils to pile on more misery to Pep Guardiola. Jim, I said it before and I'll say it again. The empire's gone. It's crumbled.
Yeah, you've been banging this drum for a while, haven't you? Saying he should have gone in the summer. And the new contract feels like just a sort of little bit of almost like delusion at this point, doesn't it? No, it's okay. It's okay. We'll keep it going. We'll turn it around. And obviously it's not going to be this bad forever, but it is absolutely fascinating to watch the kind of depths it's plumbing at the moment. Like getting done by a Route 1 Man United goal like that.
Yeah.
Like where Guardiola has that kind of mad decision to think, maybe I can backheel this, maybe I'll just, it's gone in. I can't do anything.
That was weird.
It really was.
That was
Just
almost as
get
weird
rid of
as
it.
Man City scoring by accident.
Yeah.
Which is the most accidental goal. It's the most accidental goal that Man City scored that they kind of meant to score. When I say accidental goal, people think, it come off someone's arse or something. No. They kind of meant to score it, but they did it in a way that was totally unorthodox.
Yes.
And Guardiola was just like, oh yeah, I had that. I had that.
That's what I do.
Yeah, I had that, no problem. And it was I've never ever seen a team of such obvious quality perform so badly in my life. Like the lack of quality on display from Man City in the execution of what they did, how they went about doing it, the final pass, sometimes even just a basic play. It was so bad.
We've seen this with I don't know, Chelsea as champions under Mourinho when it goes wrong the next season, or Spain at 2014
France in
World Cup
2002.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? When you just go, look at all these players they've
Pompey
got
in any season.
Yeah. Indeed.
Yeah.
And you go, they're done.
But it feels like they think that now, doesn't it? The way they're playing,
Jim,
and the way they're like shanking everything and underhitting this and overhitting that, and
it's strange.
That kind of strangulation they had with possession just seems to have deserted them completely.
And I thought that when Marcus was saying what he was saying, it was when I was away and I wasn't able to watch as closely as I would normally, and then I just thought it's probably a bit premature to say that, but over the top. I think I'm on board.
Well, this is the thing.
It's impossible to kind of excuse what you've seen.
But the performances before this,
I can't outrun the sadness I've seen, as Maximo Park once said.
Blimey. There's too much evidence. You see what I mean? I think this is the point, is this side under Guardiola have been so devastatingly good that we're just refusing to believe, it's a blip. No, look at the body language, look at it all. But you don't need a body language expert to tell me that Pep's not having a good time. But Jim, for years, Arsenal were considered a banter club. Are you going to label Man City a banter club now?
Well, I don't think I need to.
I think the Ramble listeners would love
They'd love to hear you say
Well, I mean, look, I'm not going to pretend I'm not absolutely loving every second of this.
I think you need to say the words, Jim.
They're a banter club. If that's what you want.
Jim.
It's very genuinely very interesting, isn't it? Seeing the fans boo and the frustration and stuff, like, because the extremes that they've flipped between there are quite dramatic. When you get four Premier League titles in a row with a treble in there and all the other trophies along the way and stuff, to what is it? Is it 1 win in 10 now?
Yeah.
It's just an astonishing drop off.
Yeah.
It's like there's been some sort of body swap situation gone on.
I think it's 1 win in 11 if you count the League Cup at the start.
Sure, well, yeah.
But
it does seem odd because go back to Feyenoord, which Guardiola himself referenced after the match, 3-0 up and cruising, And then that happens. You think, well, bloody hell. And then, okay, so when they beat Nottingham Forest 3-0, was it the other game or the other round of fixtures?
Yeah.
It was okay. Yeah. Right, that looked a bit more like it. Forest having a fine season, of course. And you think, well, that's a good win, good performance, and there you go. But I'm afraid that it's inconsistent now. Those players are capable of that, so don't be surprised if next week they actually pull out a 2 or 3-0 win or something like that. To me, as I've said before, in terms of them being the enormously dominant force, that I think it's gone. I don't think they'll win the title. I don't think they'll be in the title race.
Well, they're not going to win the title.
No, do you know what? To the point of I think a top 4 finish. They're very capable of that still.
Carragher already said before this game that he thought they'd go out of the Champions League next season.
Yeah, well, in this season certainly the way they're playing, but in terms of
it means they won't qualify.
Yeah, I think a top 4 finish would be.
What's remarkable to me is that you look at Rodri's missing. We know that, and they've had other players missing as well. But that can't explain.
It's not it, Luke.
Yeah, that can't explain.
No.
I've never seen... I was trying to think when I've last seen Kevin De Bruyne play so badly. And it must be really when he was completely shorn of confidence when he was at Chelsea, maybe, before he even went to Germany.
But there's no real comparison.
He looks absolutely cooked. Like, to the point where Guardiola... When Guardiola was reacted to Man City scoring... It was like he was confused that they even managed to score. It was the weirdest thing. Like, Man United cannot defend corners, right? They cannot defend set pieces. The only team worse than them at defending set pieces is Wolves, who we're going to come on to. Man United are awful defensively from set piece situations. And Man City weren't really even putting the ball in the box. The one time they put the ball in the box was he meant to do something else, and it deflected into the box by accident. That's what I mean. Yeah. And then Guardiola scores. And Guardiola was looking around thinking, I don't know how that's happened.
Yeah,
he looks totally. It looks like when he puts them out on the pitch and knows that he can no longer control things. Because obviously, the massive control freak, as all top managers are these days. He just seems completely confused. It's not even that. Obviously, he's frustrated, but he just seems confused as to how it's possible.
But look at his reaction when the penalty was given away.
Yeah,
he was crestfallen. Because
but you would be anyway.
No. But that's not what he normally he would be. Was that? It would cut a different figure. He was completely defeated in that moment.
And there was a sense of inevitability about them as well, where you think even if they do concede a goal in the 85th minute, you think, but they'll probably still bloody go and win it, and then they'd maybe find a way. But they look like they're playing with fear, don't they? And I wonder if that is actually being kind of transmitted from him, because he seems completely out of control and at a loss as to why this is happening, and they look a little bit lost on the pitch.
They've stayed too long. De Bruyne was there was chat about him maybe going to Saudi and so on. When you play that quality, that amount of football at that intensity, and produce that amount of quality, again, it's important to remember what they've done in recent years. It is phenomenal what they've done and achieved. Unprecedented. But at some point you are going to have to. It will start to wind down. Everybody gets older. Inertia kicks in, all that kind of stuff. And again, I go back to it. And I think Guardiola is signing that extension, staying on. He was tempted with the England job. There's no two ways about that. De Bruyne is thinking, and it feels like everyone's gone. Go on then. Let's just stay a bit longer. And you think no.
They're also. He's making really odd decisions. I mean, when Man City lost 4-0 to Spurs. That was kind of off the back of them losing to Bournemouth. And Kyle Walker was appalling in both those games. Against Spurs, he was dreadful. One of the worst games I've ever seen him play.
It's crazy, his drop-off.
Yeah, and you have to... If you're Man City, it produces all these players. I mean, back when they were flying high, what used to happen, you guys will remember this well, they'd come into like a key game. I can't think of a specific example, but they'd come into like a big game, it'd be on telly, and all of a sudden they'd pick like Oscar Bob will be playing, or some centre back you've never heard of will be playing. You go, fucking, and they'd be good, right? So there's no reason that he can't bring someone else in. Kyle Walker, I think, has played every game since that Spurs game, and he's been terrible. Like, he's been terrible.
But I honestly don't think the personnel issues don't help, but I think it is.
Well, it makes a big difference when you've got people who can't kick the ball straight, playing in a big derby.
I know, but it feels to me there's something greater than that going on.
And I think some of the analysis before the game, forgive me if I got this wrong, but I'm pretty sure they were essentially saying, might have been on the radio, they're essentially saying that teams, whoever they are in the Premier League now, are just attacking that left-hand side.
Yeah. I mean, look, but against Palace the other week when
exactly, that's a good example. Yeah,
Palace scored that many goals. There's only a handful of teams that have scored fewer. Although after their 3-1 win against Brighton, maybe that they've gone up there. But they thought, okay, Man City, we can get at them, and that's the difference. It's we can have these. We can give a good account of ourselves.
Especially given that they're not. they're not making chances, are they? When you've got a player like Erling Haaland, obviously, his slump in form is the same as everybody else's, but he's a player where you don't actually need to get that many chances for him because you know he's going to put some of them away, but they just can't get it near to him.
Yeah,
he looks so isolated. It was I have to say, by the way, I'm not just going to heap the criticism.
We have to mention Manchester United at some point
because they're also shit.
They were, yeah,
that's fucking terrible. It was the worst quality Manchester derby for ages. It was really, really poor.
It's the sort of one where you go, do I like football?
I saw Anthony Taylor's face at one point thinking, and he looked like he was thinking, what the hell?
I'm going to have to do something to spice this up.
Yeah, it was so predictable from United as well, wasn't it? Very little spark, no kind of intensity at all. I think generally, obviously, until they turned it around, the story of the game was that they'd been really kind of passive and kind of uncreative. And obviously, you get those two brilliant moments that change the narrative of it. But I think, there's still a hell of a way to go in terms of that team firing.
That was not a good performance.
But on that point, though, Rashford and Garnacho, not even in the match day squad.
Yeah. Given detention, they came in on Sunday, didn't they? They trained on Sunday, I believe.
Yeah. Well, what do you think of that?
Well, I think it's clearly, obviously, it's something that's been needed in that squad by the sounds of it. We've heard rumours for years and years and years, haven't we? Not just about those two particular players, but lots of players don't seem invested. It's interesting his comments about how he takes everything into it, and not just discipline. He says it's how you interact with others in the squad and how you lift people up, that sort of thing. So it sounds pointed, doesn't it? It's really difficult to draw any conclusion other than that from it. And clearly, those who've come in to take the place of those two players have worked well. And I think it's just him trying to change the culture of the dressing room, which we've heard for a long time has been a little bit too slack. And it's...
But he said, I pay attention to everything. The way you eat, the way you put your clothes on to go to a game, everything. And
I put your clothes on.
Yeah.
I missed that bit. I have secret cameras in all of my players' homes.
Your words, not his, Jim. I mean, obviously the other week, Enzo Maresca does this with Noni Madueke. Says, right, well, you're not trained hard enough. And, on this show I was saying, actually, you see the control he has and so on. It's not too dissimilar to this, but he's vindicated because they've won the game.
And it's also about provoking a reaction from two of his best players, isn't it? Let's be honest. They are two of the best players in that squad when they're really firing, but they're not at the moment, they need to be.
I think you have to. I mean, Marcus, you're right to say the fact that he's won the game makes it a little bit easier for him today, I expect. But he's in that position, isn't he, where he's come in with a big reputation. He's done an amazing job where he's been in the past. And he should be empowered to make these decisions. Now, it's going to be a big story because it's Manchester United and because Rashford is a massive name and because Garnacho actually has been one of the few outfield players across the last few years for Man United who's kind of done pretty well. They've both been okay this season, like fits and starts really. And he has the right to pick whoever he wants to pick. And if he gets asked a question about it before a game, that's fair enough. That's part of the job. But I think he's fully within his rights to pick whoever he wants. I mean, I felt really sad for Mason Mount.
That was a shame.
He's had a tough old time of it. And, obviously Mount and Diallo played in the kind of positions you'd expect maybe Rashford and Garnacho to play. But, it's a funny one really because they could have lost that game 1-0 and it'd been the worst derby in history or in living memory. But the fact they turned it around without being that good, because City imploded, means that no one's really going to talk about that again.
Well, there's a little bit of momentum. You've got to build on this. Yeah. Should he stick with Amad Diallo?
I think Amad Diallo's been fantastic. I think he's been like their best outfield player by miles.
Yeah.
I actually think Mazraoui did a pretty good job on Doku. Doku was the one.
He's trying something.
And he's always going to. He moves the ball so quickly. He's so keen. He's always positive. And that does you a lot of credit, particularly in the Premier League, where people used to seeing a certain type of pace to a game in football. But Mazraoui was brilliant on him, and obviously Doku didn't get any help from anyone because that's where City are at the moment. But I thought he did a really good job, and I thought Dalla was quite good as well, and I thought Diallo was absolutely outstanding.
I mean, Diallo is he is the bright spark, isn't he, at the moment for Manchester United? I mean, even when he races through to latch onto that mistake, he takes it slightly too wide, a bit of a tricky one, checks back in, and thump is given wins a penalty, which is a penalty all day long. And I mean, I did actually, talking on the penalty, I actually quite enjoyed Bruno Fernandes' celebration there. I did quite like it when a player just kind of goes,
You've been getting stick all game, probably.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was quite enjoyable. But Diallo, the way he took his goal, the way he latched onto it, he's such an exciting player. And yes, Guardiola, don't try and backheel it off the line, for crying out loud. I understand it would have been a tricky one, but he could have got something on that.
They just look mentally cooked.
Well, they do. But Diallo is the bright spark at the moment for Manchester United.
Yeah.
And a player like that, not only does he give the crowd a lift, it also gives the players around him a lift as well.
Absolutely. It's an energy thing, isn't it? As we mentioned already, they were very, very flat. But actually, to be fair to Diallo, that's not a fair assessment of his performance. He's very, very direct, very, very, he kind of leads the press by himself at times, it feels like. And he's an example there, isn't he? Of just, someone who's trying to make things happen whenever he's got the ball. And in some cases when he doesn't.
And also, arguably the other thing that sort of went wrong for Guardiola in this kind of little mini period where everything seems to be going wrong is the guy who gives a penalty away. He's someone who's asked to play left back who's not a left back, who gets into a position where if you're not a specialist defender, you can make those kind of decisions. And it's an absolute obvious nailed on penalty. And he looked absolutely kind of gutty, knew what it meant. He knew the situation they're in. He seemed really upset. It's not particularly edifying seeing all these players looking so upset, but you've got to comment on it, I guess.
Was it edifying seeing Kyle Walker going down after that brutal headbutt from Rasmus Højlund?
If I may be so bold, I did like Rasmus Højlund's poem on Instagram.
Shall I read it for you?
Which is not something I expected to say today.
Manchester is red, violets are blue. What a brilliant performance! But the Oscar goes to, and there's a photo of him with his head on Kyle Walker.
My biggest issue with this Instagram post is the line, quite simply, "What a brilliant performance." Yeah, totally disagree. But I've said what I've said about Kyle Walker. Everyone else has probably seen him play, so knows what I'm talking about, and I expect probably agrees. But when you see that from, captain of Man City on the night, established international, got his own little podcast as well, doing his broadcasting thing, you just think, we should just retire.
Father of many.
Just retire.
Yeah.
There's nothing. I thought Roy Keane was actually quite understated.
I don't know the guy and I'm embarrassed for him.
Yeah.
Roy Keane also said pride has to kick in at some point for a footballer before the game.
Great, isn't it?
Oh dear.
But what do we think next for City though, Marcus? I mean, what do we think is going to happen? Because surely if you're an Arsenal fan, for example, you're counting down the days till you play them. Surely.
Everybody feels like that at the moment, don't they? You can get something.
Yeah. This is the frustrating thing. As I said,
it lasts till February, Jim.
When Fulham went there, like right now, Fulham would do them. But talking to Kyle Walker, when Fulham went there and lost 3-2, obviously Traore, when he burns past Kyle Walker, everyone thought, but that's Traore. He's one of the fastest men on the planet. Actually now...
They're staying at the party too long, some of these players, aren't they?
I wonder, is Kyle Walker's future, presumably there's not going to be too many seasons left of it given his age, but might he revert to a centre-back for a while, as he has done for England before? Pace a little bit less important?
Well, I mean, he's been the right centre-half in a 3. So maybe Amorim will be looking at him. I don't know.
But what I thought was quite interesting was that when I saw the lineup, and I don't want to get too tactical because people aren't listening to us for that, but when I saw the lineup, I thought it would be a back 3 with Núñez further forward because he could have played. What he could have done is he could have played a 3. He could have played Foden and Gundogan in front of the 3, and he could have played a 4 and a 1 like he's done before. They've played a 3-2-4-1 load, City, but they didn't do it.
Hang on, you're sounding like Pep now.
Just saying.
Foden in front of a back 3. What's happened to you?
We're next to Gundogan.
I don't know, Luke. I think if he'd have done that, then...
might not have been quite so good.
Lost. Hindsight's a wonderful thing, isn't it? Well, anyway, Man City, they're struggling. There's no two ways about that, everybody. We're not dressing that up at all. 5th they are, of course, behind Nottingham Forest, who went above them with a lovely victory against Aston Villa.
What a game, by the way. I mean, this game's just getting immense.
This is the thing.
Another week, it would have been right at the top.
Yeah, I mean, an incredible comeback from them. Elanga scoring a 93rd minute winner, of course. And the game may well be remembered for one of the greatest saves of all time from Emi Martinez.
I've never seen anything like it.
My God.
It's such a shame that he didn't save the other. Obviously, Forest fans will disagree, but a shame that he was somewhat at fault for the equalising goal. But still, that save you can't. You can't praise it enough.
One of our producers, Tom, shout out Tom Wally, big Forest fan. He said he was about 4 or 5 seats behind it. He said it's just I couldn't believe what he was saying.
Yeah,
I just thought it was the one that reminded me of is that famous Seaman save against Sheffield United in the FA Cup semi-final. Yeah. it's, if you'll let me,
I will.
because the ball gone behind him.
Yes.
It makes it look better. Same with Martinez, but it was lower and it was far more last ditch and far more reactive and far quicker because the game's quicker now. Makes it on every level better than that. But that save that Seaman made is held up as being like people still talk about that now sometimes.
I think it's a crap save now.
Yeah, I do. I don't rate it anymore, and I will no longer be referring to it.
I thought, yeah. In fact, in light of this, I thought Seaman could have caught that.
Yeah, it was an amazing save. Look, I think that game. I know we want to touch on it just briefly, but Aston Villa have found it really tough, as expected, after Champions League games. They found it difficult. I think they might have only won one after a Champions League game.
And they've got to concentrate on the Champions League.
Yeah,
win that, you're in it next season.
Exactly.
Right? That's all it is.
That's what they got to go for.
That's the job.
Exactly.
That is the job to do. But Forest, my goodness,
they've been really, really good. They've been great. I was just going to say that Forest deserve all the credit in the world. Though it's not necessarily too much to do with Villa, but to battle back with not that long left to get a win was incredible.
But I think some people are expecting them. And I think, you'd have sympathy for this view that, okay, that's fine, but they will sort of drop off at some point. And that may well happen. We've seen some teams have a really good first half of the season. The Christmas period we'll see, and you get one or two injuries and so on. But I don't know, they've got such balance across that squad. They've all the players are playing well. Milinkovic has been, let's say, phenomenal at the back. I think that if they can hold their nerve, and with the way Nuno likes to play, he doesn't like to give too much away and so on. I think that kind of bodes well because it's not a kind of they've scored goals and they've got goals in the team, but it's not a sort of swashbuckling style necessarily that has got them there. It is a bit more considered and I don't know. I think Forest. Yeah, I don't know about top four. Still not sure about that. But the fact is that Villa are struggling. Spurs, despite their win, are not having the best of seasons. I don't know. Yeah, it is. Full spot is, and also fifth as well.
Exactly, it doesn't need to be fourth. Can be fifth. You've got to ask yourself: is there a spot? Is there a spot there? You think Liverpool, Chelsea, and Arsenal? That's done.
Yeah.
So there's two spots.
Yeah.
And who's going to be most likely? Who's going to go on a tear between now and the end of the season? Who's capable of it? There's a few teams that are probably capable of it, but as Aston Villa showed last season. You've got to put yourself in there and be ready to do it. And some teams like Forest, like Fulham even, like Bournemouth, like Brighton.
Man City maybe.
Yeah, let's not be silly. They don't have a huge amount of games compared to the teams that are going to go deep in different competitions. So it could make a massive difference. The opportunity is there for them. It really is.
The opportunity is there. All right, coming up after this, Gag O'Neill has been sacked.
Boo!
Martinez
through.
Ahmad through the middle, he's got a touch on it, and Ahmad has scored for Manchester United!
Welcome back to the Football Ramble, everybody. Gary Neville's latest goalgasm. Thanks to friend of the Ramble, Billy, for sending us that clip. You can become a friend of the Ramble too by heading over to patreon.com/Football Ramble. You'll get access to the Discord where you can chat with us and other Ramble listeners.
Yeah.
And get ad-free episodes of the Ramble up front and on the continent, all for just $5 a month. That's patreon.com/Football Ramble to sign up now.
Yeah, the big chat this over the weekend has been that someone in the US, one of our Discorders in the US, has spotted Andy Brassel on telly.
Yep.
He appeared on some TV programme, but the guy had a massive projector-type screen, so they just shared a photo of Andy looking gigantic in their living room, and everyone was just reacting to that. If you want to see it, there it is.
Yeah.
That's a huge Andy.
It's a massive Andy, isn't it?
Yeah, I happen to see that myself.
Big Brassel.
Mm-hmm.
Good, that's the kind of chat you can get involved with.
Indeed it is.
You want.
I
You don't have to.
I know what I do.
Yeah.
But now we've got to talk about Wolverhampton Wanderers 1, Ipswich Town 2. A great win for Ipswich, a damning one for Wolves. Gary O'Neill has finally been sacked by Wolves, Jim. We thought it might happen after the West Ham game. It's happened after the Ipswich Town game.
Yeah, it gave him a little bit more of an opportunity to get it right. But, I mean, this was really a damning result, wasn't it? And the first goal, the Matt Doherty own goal, was genuine Keystone Cop stuff. It's nice to see it actually be appropriate for once, because it was so clownish. Really,
yes, it was
really daft.
They talk about Keystone Cops quite a lot on football cliches.
Yeah,
and
over 100 years old.
Yeah, it's amazing. It's amazing the longevity of that kind of analogy. It's so good. Like people normally, we'll have a little chat about some kind of reference, and we'll go, "Oh yeah, it's 90s," and people aren't going to remember that. I think it's 1914 or something. The Keystone Cops.
Well,
Yeah.
Do you reckon
Sorry, Wolves.
they're going to call me Keystone Cops.
Oh, God, I don't even really know what it is. I just know it's bad.
Big takeaway for me
Go on.
was Wolves, and I hope this is a tradition that continues
Thought you were
post
just talking about the weekend there.
The big tradition I'd like to see continue in a post Gary O'Neill Wolves world is the pick someone to have a massive punch up after the game every time.
Yeah.
A poor old Ipswich coach. He did seem quite old.
Was it coach or security guy?
He
Yeah,
had,
I think he
the
was
Ipswich jacket on.
He did.
Yeah.
He had his glasses stolen.
That was poor.
No,
He took one on the back of the head.
I got to say,
Yeah, he got on the back of the head as well.
From
didn't he?
Cunha, yeah.
Yeah.
as a glasses wearer,
Yeah.
very impressed by the composure of the Ipswich security guy.
I was.
'Cause someone
Well, you
doing
couldn't see
that
what was happening.
is but he
Come
kept
on.
his composure,
Yeah.
and essentially all Cunha achieved from that was just basically being able to read the man's disdain a lot more clearly. Yeah.
Do you know what I'd like to have seen happen? If he's a security guard or a coach, we're not sure which, or possibly even a translator or a goalkeeping coach or whatever.
Maybe it's all of it.
What I'd like to have seen happen was the guy just to straight batter Cunha.
No, do you know what I did?
Like, they had to be pulled off him.
Yeah.
What would have been more menacing is if Cunha had done that and he just looked at him and then pulled out of his pocket another pair of glasses and put them on. He'd be like,
The reverse Benitez?
yeah, he'd be like, oh,
Top pocket,
this
top
guy
pocket.
knows.
Yeah.
This guy knows.
Yeah.
That was,
Imagine though if he just grabbed him,
Yeah.
Cunha,
Yeah.
punched him 50 times in the face,
50.
pulled his head off, and just said, held it up into the crowd like that.
Yeah, and I don't know. This is all very Mortal
Gary
Kombat.
O'Neill will be thinking, I'll get another week out of this now.
Yeah.
This is the big story. This will be the big story. Don't worry about that. Yes, I have lost an important attacking
Yeah.
player, but I'm going to get a job for another week.
I've got the sack. Have they sacked that guy who did that? Because you can't do that. You
no.
can't do that. Well, none of that happened with regards to the head pulling and the punching, thank goodness. But Matheus Cunha is surely going to get retrospective punishment for that.
Yeah, you would hope so.
He has to have.
I mean, surely,
He
because
has to get that.
but this is the thing about
kids copy these things in the playgrounds. It's going to be a bad week for the glasses wearing children of Wolverhampton
Yeah.
if they don't do something
and
immediately.
beyond, because the Premier League's everywhere.
Well, true, yeah.
it is everywhere. Yeah. Well, look. It's not the first time we've seen, as you say, Luke, as you alluded to earlier, angry scenes at full time. I mean, Mario Lemina was basically had the captain's armband taken off him after what happened against West Ham. And now this. Cunha is a crucial player for Wolves. The last thing they need is for him to be out for a handful of games. It's not O'Neill's problem now because he's gone. He got the dreaded vote of confidence from the board at the start of the week. And I think the board have been fairly patient with him. And from what we hear from reports is they did quite like him. I mean, he'd obviously done an all right job last season. I think it's reasonably fair to say. Luke, you were concerned at the start of this season.
That he didn't end up managing Portsmouth? Yeah, I still am.
No, but you were concerned for O'Neill that the budget perhaps wasn't there. The mood in the squad wasn't great, all that kind of stuff. And this is before a ball had even been kicked in this year's incarnation of the Premier League. It
was partly that, but it was also just such a tough start they've had, and he came in a certain situation where he did a decent job and was earned the right to manage him for this season. But the problem is, I don't think they strengthened that well. They had such a difficult start where they need to get through it with their confidence intact, which doesn't seem to have happened. They also don't seem to have had any ability whatsoever to defend properly, particularly with set pieces. I mentioned it earlier. I mean, talk about Man United being bad at defending set pieces. I mean, there was a graphic that was flashed up at the weekend that said Wolves are twice as bad as the next worst team at defending set pieces. Right? So it's been bad. They went on a little bump where they got through that. The last game was against Man City, in which they were pretty unlucky, actually. They only lost by the odd goal.
They've had a lot of kind of unlucky moments, haven't they?
But off the back of that, they go 4 undefeated, and then they just start. You expect them to kick on. And the profile of teams they've played against in the last 4 games, Bournemouth, Everton, West Ham and Ipswich, got not a single point out of it.
Yeah, I mean, that's not good.
The writing's on the wall when that happens. So,
1-4-1 at the cottage, didn't they? I mean, the fact is, the away fans were singing that, you're losing to us, how shit are you?
Yeah.
They were chanting.
I mean, the red card made a big difference in that, didn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
it probably wouldn't have been 4-1 if it was 11
Wolves,
against 11.
Wolves were still 2-1 up at that point. But anyway, it's all.
Well, good news for us is that Ole Gunnar Solskjaer was seen at the stadium.
It seemed like it was going to be good news, didn't it?
It's good news for us.
Well, but wasn't he just visiting Kieran McKenna?
You say that, but
why don't you go to Ipswich and see Kieran McKenna? You've got loads of opportunities to go to Ipswich.
Well, he said the reason actually, part of the reason he went was because one of his sons is an Ipswich Town fan. It's like, Ollie, how on earth Have you allowed that to happen?
Yeah. Also, again, go and see them at home. There's loads of chance. You could be
It's the sort of thing that Solskjaer, being the character he is, would probably kick his kid out for not supporting Man United, wouldn't he?
Oh, I don't know.
Not give him any food.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's what he said,
maybe.
isn't it?
I think you find people, that seems like a convenient excuse that, people can say, oh yeah, I went to see McKenna,
Yeah.
but he's favourite for the job.
Yeah.
I mean, so we have to at least comment on that, and that'll be magnificent for everyone who likes the Football Ramble.
Yeah,
it would
be
fucking
amazing.
great.
4-0 at half time. It's Manchester United. It's not. It's not.
You're not there anymore.
I phoned Sir Alex before the game. Why are you doing that?
Yeah, he wants to get in there quick because they play at Man United on Boxing Day.
Oh, he just wants to see some familiar faces again.
Yeah.
Although I reckon Sir Jim Ratcliffe has probably barred Solskjaer from the. I don't know.
What the drum I want to bang, and I continue to bang this drum until people listen, is that Jim Ratcliffe's not that good. It's shambolic.
I think we're all in agreement.
Yeah, but people seem to think he's going to be fine.
Oh, he'll be having a great day
Hammer him,
today, won't he?
yeah,
He'll
exactly.
treat himself to second a dinner
Yeah, he
lady.
will.
Warm glow of that.
Treat him victory.
Oh, everyone, thanks for coming. Here's some more M&S vouchers.
Actually, no. Yeah.
I've got you all a panettone.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
No, as in just one for all of you.
Yeah, share it
everyone
out.
have a bite on your way out.
Yeah, like when we accidentally ate the panettone here for someone else, and I didn't realise.
Oh yeah, we did, didn't
Yeah, they came knocking for it.
we? Yeah.
We haven't had one delivered. Crumbs around my mouth.
No, I think. Hang on, let me just finish his mouthful. That was funny.
Huckleberry Finn.
that company's gone out of business now, so it's
Oh,
fine.
okay.
Because of that.
Might have contributed to
Maybe.
morale. To morale.
That's what it was. Oh, everything will be fine when the panettone gets here.
If we could just get through the Christmas with the panettone.
Is that what Guardiola's thinking? Get a panettone in here. It'll give the boys a lift, and we'll be fine
I
from
don't
there.
think they've got that business. I'm only joking. I think they just moved locations.
okay, yeah.
Where
'Cause they were
people were more honest.
Yeah, well, they regularly got their post.
It was a genuine mistake. It was a genuine mistake.
Oh dear. Anyway, got to give a
Which
mention.
I didn't own up to.
Mention for Jack Taylor.
Yes. He was very happy to score.
Do you know what? I was thinking to myself, please, no VAR for that, because that was it was a celebration.
There should be a threshold where you just you can't take it back. VAR does not exist in this land where everyone's gone mad.
Oh my goodness, yeah, lovely little header, and a great win for Ipswich Town.
Yeah.
It really, really was. Only their second win of the season. You saw McKenna's face beaming at the end. I don't know whether that was because he knew he was going to see Solskjaer for a little drink after, but the 3 points would
I've
have
done it all in front of my spiritual father. Wallace. I think you should probably point out that Wolves did have quite a few chances in this game. And the Ipswich goalkeeper was excellent. I think he's actually a really good.
Well,
keeper anyway.
I mean, would you blame him for the goal, for the Wolves goal? Because the old beating at the near post and all that kind of stuff. I know if that's not all.
I know what you're saying, but he had a good game overall.
Okay,
and I would like to spare. I mentioned McKenna because it's easy to forget the journey that they've been on.
Yeah,
it's almost like you see the Premier League, them arriving in the Premier League as the destination because they've come up, back to back and they've adjusted so well. He was right to point out the amount of players they've had who played for him in League One who started this game.
Well, that's it. It's not. Often we say, well, the problem is they've got not problem, but the thing is that it's really a championship squad. It's obviously they've got one or two players that are Premier League quality, but it really is only just a couple. But it's a championship and a League One squad,
and they've done so well. And he's always adjusting. He's always tweaking things. Yeah. He's always trying to solve problems on the job, really. And the gap is big. The gap is massive compared to League One. It's ridiculous. So he's done so well, and they could very easily have been in the situation that Southampton find themselves in, but they're not because the coach is doing a really
because of him.
Yeah,
I mean, and that is a massive, massive win. That puts them on 12 points. So obviously they're 3 ahead of Wolves, but it puts them 2 behind Leicester. So Wolves are obviously already 5 points off of 17th. So
they had to twist Wolves. It's as simple as that. And Wolves, of course, now there's talk of them lining up Vitor Pereira. That seems to be. It seems like it's very, very likely to happen. We haven't had confirmation on that, but apparently they have broad agreement with Al Shabaab in the Saudi Pro League over his appointment. And I find this quite a fascinating one because I didn't really know that much about him, and having read up on him, on Pereira, there's a good article in The Athletic about him. All I'll say, Wolves fans, is this could be very good for the Football Ramble. He seems like a nutter. Now, clearly, they think it could go one of two ways, and it's a gamble. And I would imagine old Jorge or George Mendes is involved in this,
Sure.
As you would expect. Obviously, they looked at Potter a little while ago, and he didn't fancy it, and there's been one or two others linked, and David Moyes, and you've mentioned Solskjaer. But it does appear at this particular moment in time that Pereira actually is in pole position. And Pereira himself, a long CV, he's managed all over the place. FC Porto would probably be one of the highlights of his career. He's managed in Turkey, China, Saudi, where he currently is. He managed in Germany, didn't do too well there, but he managed all over the place. He was very keen for a move to the Premier League. He nearly went to Everton, and somebody graffitied on a wall, Pereira out, Lampard in. So that's what they thought of him. And he responded to this and said, look, I understand.
Imagine a graver insult than that.
Yeah, well, will we see that in Wolverhampton? I don't know. It's unlikely. It would be disrespectful to Coventry City.
Pereira out, Solskjaer in?
Maybe. But Pereira, there's a video of him when he was in I think it was Saudi Arabia. 10 years. It's an old clip. It's maybe up to 10 years old, and he may well have changed. But I implore anybody to watch it. He is going. He is. Anybody who looks at him wrong in that press conference, he's having a go. So,
Great.
He is a certain type of character. I mean, he went to Brazil. He also managed Brazil. He went to manage Corinthians, and they want a lot of the fans quite liked him. They wanted him to stay. And he said, no, I've got to go back and help my mother-in-law, who's very ill at the moment, right? Okay, fine. Didn't have to a month later go to Flamengo, did he? But they didn't do very well there, so he burnt his bridges with Corinthians and Flamengo.
So I definitely want him in.
So, so it's looking like that he could be the man. So
This sounds ideal.
Wow. Amazing.
Strap yourselves in if he gets the job, which again, it does look like at this moment in time that he will.
But it's a time of the year now with the Ramble where you guys are going to have to bear with us, because as soon as we get this out, something else is going to have happened.
Yeah.
So you have to do it on Reacts tonight. You're doing Reacts tonight.
We are
aren't you?
doing Reacts.
Yeah.
Yes, of course. West Ham involved again.
Yeah, Mr. Monday Night, Julian Lopetegui.
Yeah, it's like a really boring version of Pitbull. Mr. Monday Night.
I mean, compared to Pitbull, I'm thinking it's probably quite a boring night out, isn't it?
Imagine
Lopetegui.
introducing yourself as, look, people call me Mr. Monday Night. What does that mean? You do a lot of admin.
Bloody hell. Shall we talk about Southampton nil, Spurs 5?
Yeah, let's get the main event in now.
Yeah, Russell Martin has been sacked. That happened a lot quicker, didn't it? We barely had the final whistle gone.
Yeah.
They could have done it at half time.
Yeah, well, Tottenham, of course, were 5-0 up at half time, 4-0 up after 25 minutes. Russell Martin didn't even see the fifth goal. He'd already left his touchline post and had retreated to the dressing room, where Tottenham then promptly scored a fifth. A lovely goal from James Maddison as well.
Brilliant goal. And such a strange thing to see goals being scored and then the celebrations be drowned out by boos.
Yeah.
It's such a rare phenomenon in football. It's a bit discombobulating, isn't it? But yeah, they obviously the frustration spilled over so much there. To concede after a minute, Spurs are going to come at you and they're going to make it really, really difficult for you. And they're just not at the level, are they? They're just so out of their depth. And Sarr's goal was the best illustration of it. He just he had all the time he needed there. They gave him the keys to the city of Southampton.
Yeah, they did.
And that's
Brilliant goal, but
you're right to say they're not good enough, right? And we know that, and we've seen that. And Martin's shown himself to either be not capable of or not willing to adapt, right? One of the two things.
Well, his pre-match comments were very punchy.
I was just going to say that Tottenham themselves are a fragile team. Yeah, you wouldn't say that Postecoglou's been under as much pressure as Martin, or at least it's been a different kind of pressure, but he's been under a lot of pressure.
He has, yeah.
He's had to do some spiky interviews. He's had to do the old thing. He literally said bare bones in the build-up to this game, the old Redknapp special.
He said we have to play Timo Werner after that performance against Rangers.
Which he then didn't do. So fine. But the fact is that it's fine to lose a game of football in the Premier League. We all know that. Yeah. But the way that they went about it, after 25 seconds, then conceding another, it was only ever going to end one way after that. His position was completely untenable. And actually, the reason he didn't resign would have been because he would have lost a load of money, which is how it goes in modern football. But he should have really resigned.
At half time, did you think we were on for another 9?
Well, there's something in the water down there. There's not really a huge amount of pride down around that club. So that's why they
Does that
lose.
seep out to the city in general?
Well, probably lost 4-0 on Friday, but it didn't spill over to quite so bad as 5, or even 9.
Yeah, so
you've been very restrained on this. Is there a little bit of sympathy?
Marcus, on Friday, you mentioned the word Southampton, and I laughed out loud for like 2 solid minutes. Yeah, and then you were all like, "Oh, you can't do that! You can't do that!" And it got put on socials, and I got hammered for it. So I'm just saying, it's clearly not worked. They're a terrible side. They're arguably the worst side in Premier League history. They may go on to be the worst side in Premier League history, depending on what appointment they make now.
Well, to back you up on that, they've lost 13 out of 16 games. They are 9 points from safety, of course. They are 5 points from those first 16 games this season in the Premier League. Only Sheffield United in 2020-21 picked up fewer points at this stage of the campaign in Premier League history, which was 2 points. Just to give you a little bit of a stat.
But it is worth pointing out, this is not just a Russell Martin thing. This is a combination of things. This is like a kind of the board are penny pinchers. He wasn't really backed. I don't think they expected to be promoted. It seems to me, based on what a few of my friends who support Southampton have said to me, is that they want to just take the money. They don't really want to invest and try and give them sort of chance to stay in the Premier League. They're not going to stay in the Premier League now anyway. No. So, that kind of will inform the decisions they make next. But I do think that the fans there are within their rights to, what is going on here? I mean, like I said, it's fine to lose a game, but to lose it in that manner. The reason they didn't concede lose more than 5 is because Spurs stopped trying. I mean, it's as simple as that. Yeah. Spurs have got a huge amount of players out through different reasons, mostly through injury, but some through suspension as well. And they probably didn't want to put the pedal to the metal for the second half.
Well, it happens so often, doesn't it, when a big score like that is there by half time.
But if you're in a position say it's March and you're thinking about your goal difference and you're thinking we need to really do something here because it might be the difference between qualifying for Europe or not, it could have been really, really nasty for them, really bad. So they should, I mean, it's not really the most pleasant thing to think about, but you should be grateful that you got out of there with a 5-0 home defeat. And you've got to remember, some of these 9-0s we talk about, at least one of them was at home. You know what I mean? It's like, this does happen.
Yeah, it's the one where Jamie Vardy really, really gleefully celebrated the 9th in front of the fans. Do you remember, in front of the home fans?
Something around that club makes that kind of stuff happen. I don't know why. And no one's going to listen to me saying it because I'm a Pompey fan, but that is really the situation.
Yeah, what did you think of the Southampton fans who were chanting for Russell Martin to be sacked? At one stage, a section of them chanted for him to give him a wave, which incredibly he did, and then they booed him immediately.
Why is he waving?
There's the laughter.
Yeah,
there's that laughter.
Why are you waving, though?
Thought we'd get it.
But the thought process to me is like, why are you waving?
Well, he's been tricked into it, hasn't he?
It's not really the greatest trick in the world, is it?
He's got stuff on. Yeah. He's got so many problems to fix in front of him. He can't be thinking about that as well.
He's not fixed any of them.
I mean, I mentioned, by the way, that he gave quite a punchy pre-match press conference at Russell Martin, where he was really defending Ange Postecoglou and Ange Ball, really, and saying that, why would you change principles and so on. And again, he was really quadrupling down at this point.
He's always done that. He did that at MK Dons famously. He's done that wherever he's been. And I think, Did he do it post-match? Did he defend Ange? See, I told you. Look at his methods. His methods are great. I told you they were brilliant. Did you see them, though? Oh, they were good. It's a complicated one, really, for Russell Martin, because I actually quite admire that he's got a very fully realised way of how he wants to play football. And we said this at the start of the season, before the first ball was even kicked. The problem they've got to solve at Southampton is how they're going to play. And if they're going to play like they played before, without the strengthening they need to make, which is probably totally unrealistic anyway, because really, what players are you going to get? You're not going to get players that are really going to make you massively better, because if they're good enough, they're not going to go to Southampton because they don't want to be relegated, etc., etc. But what I do admire about him is that he knows how he wants to play and he sticks to it. And I think there should be a place for that in football. And I hope that he kind of bounces back, because he has actually been really good.
I agree. We could laugh.
It's just a different level entirely at the Premier League.
It is, but I think, and also when we say you've got to be a little bit more flexible, no one's saying, for crying out loud, abandon your principles and play along, but you just have to mix it up just a little bit. And I think
he has done that a bit, though, to be fair.
Yeah, okay, fair enough.
On occasion he has tried that. I think think
probably we're looking at his comments maybe rather than what's happened on the pitch. But the fact is, this has been very, very difficult, and he'll have to go away and lick his wounds. But you're right. I do hope he comes back.
I think from memory, He did it at home to Leicester. He basically gave Leicester the ball, which is really surprising.
And it worked for a bit, and then of course
they lost. They lost the game.
And then they lost the game because next Southampton manager, Danny Rule seems to be one of the names mentioned. I mean, I just wonder, Carlos Corberán. I just wonder if you're a manager in the Championship. You're doing decent stuff. Rule is he's having a decent season with Sheffield Wednesday, and
they've really kicked on. And they started quite badly, but they've started to do a bit better.
Yeah, exactly. And Corberán's, he's doing right. The problem they have now in trying to get a decent manager is, a manager, as I say, in the Championship might think, you know what, if I'm doing good stuff, maybe could be this season, maybe next season, could get my team promoted or at least have a right good go at it. And I say that could happen this season, and if not this season, they could certainly be looking at next season as well. Why would you take the Southampton job?
Exactly.
You're going to get relegated.
Exactly.
And so, again, Moyes has mentioned, Potter's mentioned.
Neither of them are going to go anywhere near that.
Ridiculous. The only thing you could do, and it seems like this cord is not available to be pulled anymore, is Sam Allardyce. Do you know what I mean? Like that's literally what you'll do. If
There's
you
no
think,
way.
No, I don't think there is either, Luke. But it is a case of who on earth do you go for? Do you get your man, your Welshman back, Jim? Nathan Jones. Is that what
there's the dream.
I don't know where they go from here. I really don't, in terms of managerial.
Look, he's going to have a bit of a payoff, old Russell Martin, because he signed a new contract, I think, at the start of the season.
Well,
I don't know if he's taken his coaching staff with him, but I mean, maybe they have to do some kind of internal appointment. But it's got to the stage now in modern football in the Premier League where they're basically relegated. I mean, you might as well relegate them now, in which case it means you're absolutely right. It's impossible to find someone who wants to do it. The only chance they're going to get is just by promoting someone from within or someone who's so down their luck and just wants the money.
I mean, someone will take it. It's a Premier League job, and as I say, there'll be a few quid involved. But
the likelihood is they'll get someone who hasn't managed in England before. Or certainly not managed at the top level in England before, can kind of essentially use it as a shop window, right? Because they might be able to put in a good fist of it at least, and whoever this manager is might think, you know what, this is a massive challenge. If I pull it off, it will be huge. And again, it's that shop window thing. So,
Ruben Sellers basically did that for Southampton when they were relegated before, and now he's at Hull City. So people kind of learned who he was, I suppose, from doing that. And now he's managing Hull, who are rock bottom of the Championship. So I mean.
There you are, you see.
Yeah.
But a great win for Spurs, though, and that's probably what they needed.
They couldn't believe their luck when they saw what was in front of them.
They ended the game with 4 teenagers on the pitch, and Ange talked about...
First time I think a Premier League team's done that.
Is that right? Blimey. Yeah. But a big win, some players who have been a little bit out of form getting goals, and basically taking it easy in the second half, which is what people say. Oh, it's a bit. It's like no, they got what they wanted. There was no way they were going to be pegged.
As a viewer, it's unacceptable. Because you're watching it on telly. This is great. I want more of this.
Yeah,
and then it kind of that's not their job.
It's a little bit, but that's not their job, as you say. So a lovely old job though. For Ange and Spurs. All right, coming up after this, Fulham got a point at Anfield. That's right, at the top of the table. One couldn't forget it. Liverpool drew 2-2 at home with Fulham. Diogo Jota, of course, making sure that 10-man Liverpool got a point. Jota's first appearance since October due to injury, so they were very happy to have him back as well. The story of the game really was in the 17th minute when Andy Robertson was sent off. Now, did you think it was a sending off? Because the obvious answer is yes, but of course... Harry Wilson, the way his touch is heavy, and it would be very unlikely he was going to get there.
And they played advantage anyway, didn't they?
Yes, exactly.
So the idea that you've denied a goal-scoring opportunity surely becomes
Can you
moot
use
when...
the proper phrase, please? Dogzo. It's Dogzo.
Dogzo,
Yeah.
right, okay.
Otherwise you'll get Dogzo's abuse.
Yeah, and obviously nobody
Do you
wants
not think it was Dogzo? I thought it was a Dogzo.
I thought it was, but I can understand the argument to suggest.
But the argument is that they played the advantage. There was a goal-scoring opportunity and they didn't take it, right?
Yeah.
So...
kind of, but he was.
But if they're given the opportunity...
He didn't have an opportunity because he was taken out.
No, but
the play carried on, didn't it?
So the goal scoring opportunity wasn't for Harry Wilson himself.
Exactly.
The goal scoring opportunity was Harry Wilson's heavy touch ended up being a pass to Raul Jimenez, who did the most Raul Jimenez thing, where he does an amazing little dink over the keeper, but doesn't score. It's like, just stick that away.
So you feel like they've had a bit of double jeopardy there. They've had 2 chances.
Maybe I can see why that happened.
I just think it's an interesting scenario that you rarely see play out.
So you do see a lot of decisions now under the current rules where, or laws, whatever you want to call them, where whatever the referee decides, the threshold isn't deemed to be high enough for it to be overturned. So it may well be that if the referee didn't give it, VAR wouldn't have given it. which may kind of exist in that hinterland where it kind of stands whatever happens. I can understand why, given the heaviness of Harry Wilson's touch, why it seems kind of harsh, but I think also there's an element of that you're not able to fully predict what's going to have happened because Robertson did that, and it was also really poor defending by Robertson.
Incredibly poor defending, and an awful heavy challenge. I think maybe the heaviness of the challenge perhaps made the referee's mind up, but also as well, I suppose you could argue that if Wilson plays that or the heavy touch. And he's still on his feet, Jimenez can knock it back to him and he can stick it in an empty net. So, obviously, I was delighted with the sending off. And oddly, I think Fulham, despite Jimenez not putting the chance away, and if he does, then Robertson stays on the field. At 2-0, I think it would have been inevitable Liverpool would have come back and won it. Whereas 1-0, but down to 10 men, with the way Fulham can play, especially against bigger teams, to exploit gaps and so on, I thought actually Fulham have probably got more of a chance, oddly. Right. I know that seems ridiculous to not
I get it.
Bird in the hand and all that kind of stuff.
Liverpool always come on strong in the second half.
Well, they do.
They're so good at that this season.
And really, it was very impressive from Liverpool. The fact is they had so much possession. But I mean, that's also by a little bit of design from Fulham as well, because I think they thought, right, give them the ball, we'll try and hit them on the break. And Fulham, there were periods of the game. There was a period in that first half where Fulham were on top and they were coming forward. Robinson was getting a lot of joy down that left hand.
He had a great game.
Yeah. Well, again, he's
having a good season.
But the way Silva, they highlighted it on Match of the Day. He was so high up the pitch. Silva thought, right, we can get behind Alexander-Arnold and we can target them. And again, hugely impressive the way Silva set Fulham up and the way they sort of nearly executed it. But it's that lack of cutting edge that Fulham again got in behind time and time again, and that final pass or someone coming on the end of it. And I think if they'd have gone 2-0 up with a man advantage, that would have been a mountain to climb for Liverpool. But the fact is, you've got to give Liverpool huge credit.
Yeah,
because
100%.
Because again, playing against a decent side or in good form. I know it's only Fulham; they're not going to bother the title race at all. But to come back, Kakpo scores and then Jota gets the equaliser.
So the disappointing thing for me, if I was a Fulham fan, would be Leno makes Jota's decision for him.
Yes,
I think Jota's probably.
I mean, the XG on that's going to be high though.
He's one of the best finishers in the Premier League, Jota.
But he gives him the eyes.
But if you watch again, Leno does go down very, very early. Like he leaves a lot of the decision for Jota to make. I think you've got to stay on your feet there. Easy for me to say, I know. And Jota may well have scored anyway, but it does seem to me like he went down a bit early.
Yeah.
I thought Robinson was excellent. I thought Alexander-Arnold was getting got at over and over.
He was.
Again.
Yeah. Again, it's
to the point where Slot had to change it. He had to change it.
Well, I was on the radio on the weekend, and there was talk about Ben White for England and all this. But he's not the player that Alexander-Arnold is. And I was like, well, actually, defensively, again, like Alexander-Arnold
flourishes really well in a situation where it's like you attack, we attack, you attack, we attack, because he catches the eye really well.
There's a chaos factor.
So that Newcastle game, 3-3, massively brilliant, massively attacking game, couple of assists. Yeah. The game against Brighton, which was they won 2-1, got out of it. He was brilliant in that game. There's other games where he looks like against the Fulham game, for example, and actually he got caught out quite a lot against Girona in the Champions League as well. I think people feel like they can get him, and when you've got someone like Robinson, he's having a great season. He's super quick, super energetic. Also got a bit of quality as well. Robinson.
Yeah, he's a winning.
He's a tough player as well, isn't he? He's very, very strong.
He's matured so well in the last sort of couple of seasons, really, at Fulham. I mean, there's a reason why they bought him, but
he just plays every game as well. Yeah, he's always available.
But he's matured so much, has Anthony Robinson, because when Fulham first got him, as you can imagine, they got him from, was it Wigan? It was a big step up, and there was you talk about Alexander, there was a bit of a hectic nature to him, and you thought, okay, this guy can put in a brilliant performance and deal with a very tough winger, but also if the ball bounces in front of him, he can do a bit of a 50p head and you don't know where it's going to go. Yeah. Whereas actually he's eliminated so much of that from his game.
I think he's having the best season he's had.
Well, it's almost a bit of a shame that he declared for the US, actually, with England's,
it'd be up for grabs, that.
It would be, yeah.
He'd absolutely be in the next squad on this form.
Oh, I think he would. But he's our loss is America's gain.
But it's a testament to how far Fulham have come that we're discussing them in this way, though. I mean, they've had such a good start to the season. Yeah. I know the red card changes the dial, moves the dial a little bit, but
Fulham was still a goal up, though.
Two great finishes as well, like Pereira's improvised finish, Muniz's improvised finish. I couldn't really even work out what Muniz had done at first.
Well, yeah,
brilliant goal.
Yeah, and do you know what? The Fulham did this with Jorge Cuenca at centre-half. That's his first start in the Premier League. You know, what a baptism of fire that is. I mean, I think he's maybe 3 substitute appearances, all totalling a handful of minutes. So to go in there, you know, he's one for the future. They got him from Spain. Okay, Jota does him maybe a little bit too easily, but I mean, you know, at Anfield, you know what it's like in the last minute, and Jota's very, very hungry.
Anderson's been important for Fulham, and
very
him to not
important,
be available could have hurt them.
He might be out for another couple of weeks still to come. So you know, again, an encouraging performance from Fulham. I understand people say, well, come on, you play against the side when you got a man up, but this is this.
But are they on the verge, Marcus?
Of what?
You tell me.
I think that they're always on the verge. It just depends what. I think Fulham have really got to be looking at this and thinking, there's European spots up for grabs here. And they're in the mix. And Marco Silva knows that.
Could they go to another European final?
Oh,
hey, now you're talking.
Not this season.
No, but I mean, this time next year we could be talking about
Well,
that.
this season, of course, they did win the Algarve Cup, so they've got a bit of pedigree still.
They've already done it, is the answer.
Well,
they've already done it.
This season,
so thanks very much.
That box is ticked.
Yeah. Gone where Roy couldn't.
Yeah.
Gone where Danny Murphy couldn't.
But the thing is, though, that you look at some of these Premier League sides who are in the mix, whoever finishes in the Europa Conference League, that really is, again, with the budget of the Premier League, that should really.
We have reduced as a footballing community. We have reduced ourselves to developing a European competition where people can go, if we can just get in that, we'll definitely fucking win it.
Yeah, I mean, it is inconceivable to think that
it's
Chelsea
like the
won't win that trophy.
Intertoto Cup, but it's worse.
Yeah,
and it's longer.
Hey, way longer.
Fulham already have an Intertoto Cup, you know, so that one again, that
complete the cabinet of the minor trophies.
I think if you're Fulham, you look at some of the games Chelsea are playing against your Astanas, your Heidenheims, and your FC Noahs, and you think, I want a bit of that.
That's us. That is us.
Heidenheim sounds like a level from God of War.
Fulham are standing outside a house party,
absolutely
full of lovely stuff, and go, I just want in there. Just let me in there. Chelsea are in there.
Noah's in there. He's in there.
There's no room in there because Chelsea are in there.
Oh, dear.
So many players.
Well, look, I think again. So yeah, it has to go down as a good point for Liverpool, all things considered, especially as Arsenal couldn't put Jordan Pickford's 11 away. I mean, what a frustrating
afternoon. I went to Gare du Nord. So I could watch the game legally.
Good for you. Well done, mate.
In Paris.
Yeah.
And it was extremely, extremely frustrating. Although, in a way...
quite funny?
Well, no, I'm forever bound to this, aren't I? And it was immensely frustrating. And if I'm looking on the bright side, that's at least a good warm-up for a family Christmas. So there you go.
True, yeah.
Yeah. But of course, Chelsea, they thought, well, thank you very much. If everyone's going to drop points around us, we won't.
Yeah, and it's a good plan that they've come up with, isn't it?
They're 2 points off the top. Obviously, Liverpool got a game in hand. Are they in the title race? Look more officially.
Yeah, of course they are. Absolutely, 100%. I told you how I feel about it, though. I said it on when I spoke to Jim on Thursday. I said Arsenal, you know, they'll be disappointed to have lost out to Man City, and now they're going to lose out to Liverpool. But Chelsea could have a say in it.
Maybe Chelsea as well.
Yeah. And I tell you something, it does say quite a lot about what happened this weekend in the Premier League, because we're basically ending on Liverpool and saying, yeah, Chelsea in the title race.
Yeah, exactly, because it was the best weekend of the Premier League so far this season.
How about that?
Just because of the pure amount of information that we had to process.
You can't take your eyes off it.
No, and I think there might be another bloody sacking by the end of the week.
You reckon?
Could be.
Pepe G?
Why not? He won't be sacked, will he?
Presume he's quit while we've done the show. I said at the top.
There's no way you sack a Guardiola. But dare I say, and rightly so.
I'm just checking socials.
Who knows?
He said he's not good enough.
Who knows? He was very hard on himself after the game.
No,
and you can understand why.
Yeah, he's not going to be sacked this season.